Good afternoon. My name is Mike Lamusio, and I'm here to do a PTSD support group for veterans and others and their families. What I wanted to start with is tell you a little bit about myself. I am a disabled veteran suffering from PTSD from 1981. It's taken me 38 years to finally have it acknowledged, but in those 38 years, a lot of things have happened. In the course of these videos, or these live streams, I'll share a little bit of my story, but the main focus that I want to talk about is PTSD, of course, the impact it has on the person and the families and everybody else that knows the individual. This is for veterans or otherwise. PTSD is PTSD across the board. Trauma is trauma. How it affects each individual is different. So PTSD pretty much looks the same, but has different indicators that have caused it in each individual. So I wanted to go over some of the things, some myths, I guess, about PTSD. A lot of you are aware of them, some may not be. But some of the myths are PTSD is always combat related. Combat does cause PTSD in individuals, but it's not the only source of trauma. House fires, car accidents, sexual assaults, service members who experience non-combat trauma might be reluctant to seek care. They might feel their experiences aren't as severe as combat. However, remember that any perceived treatment or threat to your safety can cause PTSD. Reaching out can help you manage your symptoms and feel better. So I wanted to bring that up mainly to start with because I am a non-combat veteran. I have PTSD. From trauma I experienced in the Marine Corps. Like I said, I served from 79 to 82. We were at peacetime. So I did go overseas on Northern NATO training. I did go into the Indian Ocean during the Iran hostage situation. There was no action there, as you are aware. And I was part of the Cuban boat lift in 1980, I believe it was. Again, all during peacetime. But PTSD is real. The reason why I want to bring that out is during peacetime, non-combat veterans suffering from PTSD. I want to bring up one point real quick, and then I'll leave that for another day. But the VA does have two separate types of PTSD, combat veterans and non-combat veterans. And if you check most of the services out, they're combat veteran related. So what that does is it kind of puts the non-combat veterans suffering from PTSD, stereotypes them inside of their own little group. The ones who suffer most are female veterans of rape, sexual attacks, assaults during their time in service. If it's not wartime, it's pretty much not looked at all too well. Nowadays, they are kind of seeing the whole picture, but I was in a group last year for 8 weeks, a program for PTSD, and while in the program, the resources were great. I learned a lot, but there was still that stigma of combat veterans and non-combat veterans. So what I want to reassure everybody is PTSD across the board is PTSD. And one point I want to bring out is in the civilian world, PTSD doesn't have subcategories. It's just one, PTSD. All sufferers. I've put a post out a few months back on Facebook regarding a PTSD support group that I started. 294 people right in Sierra Vista and surrounding area. responded. I had people respond that had children involved in a school shooting. I had a person respond that was in 9/11 in the towers. And then, of course, veterans and other non-veterans. So the need is big for PTSD. The awareness, there's a great need for it. A lot of people don't know the signs. Some people do. But what I've found over the years, I've been married 3 times. My first 2 wives protected me. They protected my PTSD. They didn't help me. My 3rd wife, who I'm still currently married to, she did not protect my PTSD and my secrets, problems at night sleeping, inability to keep a job. She didn't protect me. She helped me. She reached out for help, got me into these programs. It's a big difference. So for the caregivers and the spouses of the veterans, helping your service member, or if you're not service member, civilian, helping your significant other with suffering from PTSD is getting them into treatment, not hiding them from society, not condoning their behaviors or keeping it hush because of feeling embarrassed. It comes out. Everybody knows something is up. Nobody just wants to say something about it. So I'm here to say something about it. I'm that person. 38 years I hid behind lies. I had every excuse in the book for why I had to leave a job, why I couldn't work, the same 40 hours as another person. It gets on you. You really lose track of yourself by hiding this beast inside us that we try to push down. But, in the beginning, our coping skills worked for us, but as time goes on, they no longer work for us. They actually hurt us. People do different things. I couldn't sleep. I still can't sleep at night. I went to college at night online. Some of the degrees I earned during my time of not sleeping, I've got a associate's in business, a psychology bachelor's degree, a master's in Christian ministry, half a doctorate in organizational leadership, and an honorary doctorate in theology. So we all have our coping methods, but they don't always work for us. They do for a time, but then they don't. They start wearing on the family. Your family starts walking on eggshells around you. You lose your job. You even start lying to your family. It wasn't my fault I lost the job. Somebody else at work did something, or they were downsizing. These are all real things. And if you have PTSD, you know what I'm talking about. But what you have to do is seek help. Really. At the end of the day, you aren't kidding anybody. I wasn't kidding anybody. I wasn't fooling my family. I did provide. However, I was at different jobs all the time. I stayed in the same profession, so I knew what I was doing. I knew when I could take a break or get some alone time because I was having a problem dealing with something, or I was having a flashback or a moment. There were times that I couldn't get out in time and things just happened. But I just want to dispel some of the myths. Service members can never recover from PTSD. Jury's still out on that. I'm 38 years. I'm better. I'm not recovered. But I will say this. When I first got out of the Marine Corps in 1982, I got out in January 8th, 1982. March 18th was my birthday, and that was my first suicide attempt. 20 later, and 30 years later, I finally got it that I wasn't supposed to do that. I'm here for a reason. I'm still trying to figure that reason out. Hopefully this is the reason. Awareness. We all have our demons. We all go through life struggles. Everybody does. PTSD and trauma just make it a little bit more difficult for us. Things that we used to do. I used to go to ball games. I used to go to the beach. I used to do everything. I used to love traveling. I don't do any of that. Just this year, after the treatment program in Tucson, at the Tucson VA, after that program, I finally made it to a lake, Patagonia Lake. First time I've been to a lake, God, 25 years. I can drive. I moved out here to Sierra Vista, the middle of nowhere. I had trouble getting here. I panicked all along the way. And then once I got here, I didn't want to go anywhere because there's dirt everywhere around and mountains around that dirt. So I panicked. Had no choice. I was living behind my demons, my PTSD, my traumas, my insecurities. And it was taking its toll on me and my family. I have 2 boys and a wife. Walk on eggshells all the time because, not that I want to have my traumatic episodes, but I had them. I still do, not as many, but I still have them. Difference is now I know what to do. The program helped me. I know I say a lot. My wife has been on me for that, so I'll work on that. And she'll laugh at this later when she watches it. So let me get to some more of the myths about PTSD. So service members with PTSD have all the same symptoms. Not true. Everybody experiences PTSD differently. There are as many possible symptoms. Some service members have nightmares, trouble concentrating. Others relive the events, flashbacks, have intrusive thoughts about their trauma. Working with a healthcare provider can help you make a custom treatment plan to meet your needs. All right. So that's the VA version of, I guess, the political side of it in a nutshell. You need to talk to somebody. I don't care who it is. You gotta talk to somebody and let them know. Let them inside. Let them know what's going on. I only found out about my PTSD. I didn't know I had it. Like I said, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I instantly, 2 months later, was in a hospital for a suicide attempt. I spent, I think, 3 months in the hospital then. Tons of pills. Got out, went back in again, same end of that summer. So in all, for 38 years, well, no, it wasn't 38 years, 95 was my last hospitalization. But I've had 20 suicide attempts and probably 30 to 40 hospitalizations. Every one of them were civilian doctors in civilian hospitals telling me what I had. I was diagnosed with multiple personality disorders because when I had episodes of flashbacks, I guess I was doing and saying things differently. I don't know. I had schizophrenia. I had depression. I had agoraphobia. I still have. Some of the things, the list just went on, and the meds just spanned the gambit. I took every psychotropic drug there was. I don't take anything now. And since being diagnosed by a veteran doctor who understood a veteran's issues and military trauma, they were able to diagnose my PTSD. And I can honestly say that the only hospitalization I had was a voluntary 7-week program specifically for PTSD, not for a trauma-related event that forced me into the hospital in handcuffs by a police officer or any other circumstance. So since being diagnosed, I have never been hospitalized because I understood it. And it was a friend, a coworker on a night shift. Us guys with PTSD, it's hard to work a 40-hour work shift week during the day with everybody else out there that annoys me. Annoys you too. I know. So we seek those seclusive jobs where your family's asleep because you don't sleep anyway. You're always up, hypervigilant, doing things. So I worked at night. I worked in a hospital, passed meds, great job. Friend of mine who was a co-worker, I dropped the book, he dove under a shelf, what's your problem? And he told me about his PTSD. A month or so later, he told me, I have PTSD. And he forced me, he said, we're going to Mount Vernon, which was in Missouri at the time, Mount Vernon Veterans Hospital. So I went there, and that's where they diagnosed me. Point I'm trying to make is somebody reached out to me. His name was Todd. Great friend. He reached out. If he hadn't reached out, I'd still be floundering today. So he did not protect my PTSD. He exposed it. He didn't protect me. He sought help for me. And that's what you family members and caregivers need to do. Stop protecting your loved one suffering from PTSD. Get them the treatment they need. Sure, we're going to be upset. You did something against my will, your significant other's will. They aren't ready. You know what? I'm never going to be ready. Now I'm ready. And now I'm working hard. I still don't go to a lot of places, but I do my share now. I get out there. The program I went to called it In Vivo Exposures. That just means real life stuff. You put yourself in it 45 minutes and kind of stick it out and deal with the consequences. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The point is you got to get out there and do it. So let me get on with these myths about PTSD. Getting help for PTSD will hurt my ability to get and maintain a security clearance. Who cares? And that's not true, by the way. If your PTSD didn't hurt your chances of getting a job, it's not going to hurt your chances of getting a security clearance. It doesn't. A job is a job, a resume is a resume, and your experience should speak for itself on your resume. You're getting treatment. That's the same as if an alcoholic gets exposed. They don't lose their job. There's programs out there now to help them. Okay, but if you continue the behavior, of course you're gonna lose your job. So that's a myth. You don't lose your clearances. Many military roles require security clearances. There may be some psychological health concerns that can impair your ability to safeguard classified information, hold clearances. However, many service members who seek help for psychological health professionals are able to maintain a clearance. In fact, such counseling can be a positive factor in eligibility. So, protecting your loved one with PTSD and hiding yourself from the world with your own PTSD is a detriment to yourself. Getting the help, they see it as a positive. So that myth has already been busted. Okay. Only service members experience PTSD. Well, we know for a fact that that's not true. I don't even need to read that. Okay, everybody. Children, sexually abused children, women, men, car accidents, house fires, people, 9/11, for example, school shootings, anything. And I want to make sure you understand this. Anything that traumatizes an individual to the point where they have nightmares and it disrupts their lives, that's PTSD. Okay. Once it affects your normal everyday living for a consistent amount of time, that's PTSD. I don't care what it is. There is no list of this is what causes PTSD and this is bullshit. It doesn't work that way. Pardon the language. But any trauma that affects any individual for a period of time can lead to PTSD, a traumatic event. Doesn't matter what it is, the death of a loved one, traumatic event. Okay? My wife and children, all right, are all diagnosed with PTSD, secondary to mine. They had to live with me. Okay, before I sought treatment, I wasn't a very good person, nice person to be around. Hence 2 divorces. So, my first 2 wives protected my behavior, my PTSD, my symptoms, protected the world from them. They hid it from them to the point where it destroyed our marriages. Like I said, my wife now exposed that to me and to the health professionals to get me the treatment I needed. And of course, Todd encouraging me to go and get the treatment. So, you need to work on it. You need to not protect the sufferer of PTSD. You need to get them the help they need. Yeah, like I said, we'll be upset. But in the long run, it'll save your marriage, save your life. It'll help your kids understand. Let's see. That's pretty much it on the myths. And I got this from Psychological Health Resource Center. So I wanted to give them the credits for it. I don't want credit for this. It's not my stuff. But they do say, if you're having any problems or in distress of any sort, seek help. If you're the loved one or significant other or a friend or a coworker or brother or sister of a person who has PTSD, you need to get them the help. You don't need to protect them or hide their symptoms from the community. Stop making excuses for them. Okay? Their excuses, they have a traumatic thing. They have a problem, and that problem needs to be taken care of. That problem, PTSD, leads to drug abuse, alcohol abuse, all kinds of craziness going on in the world today. We see people getting shot. We see violence everywhere. It's not the result of PTSD, but people want to try and say that. So people there's higher powers out there that want to make you believe that mental illness is the cause for a gun firing itself. Not true. Okay? Gun needs a person to pull the trigger. Person with a mental illness isn't the one who pulls trigger all the time. And people with PTSD aren't that person's either all the time. So my point is, hiding the fact that your loved one has PTSD creates this stigma. There's something not right, and we all know something is not right. We just can't put our finger on it. And then when we do, we expose the caregiver. Hey, your husband or your wife or your significant other, they're suffering from PTSD. And then you cause that little rift because people don't want to hear that they're not doing the right thing. They're keeping a secret. And when their secret's exposed, it exposes them. Kind of puts them on the line. So take the initiative. Seek the help for your loved one without being called out on it, because it's less painful. And in the long run, it'll save a lot of heartache. Like I said, my wife and children both have PTSD because of mine. They had to live through my stuff. They've seen my behaviors. They react the same way. Now I'm trying to undo the inadvertent damage that I did cause to my children. I go to a restaurant now, I sit with my back to a door on purpose, and my kids are like, well, Dad, you shouldn't be sitting that way. That's stuff that I taught them unconsciously by doing what I do. Okay? I wasn't a very nice person at that point in time. I was never bad to my children. It's just my behaviors, they learned them. And, I don't want my kids living the way I did. It's horrible. I don't want my wife living the way I did. That's horrible as well. If you love somebody, don't do this to them. Okay? I learned too late, but at least third time is charm for me. My wife took a stand. Okay? She wasn't going to let me get away with my PTSD anymore. She forced me to get treatment, and I did. So that brings me to why I'm here. I created a PTSD family and support group. I was a little overzealous with it. It's at the Warrior Healing Center on 1838 Peso San Luis, I believe that's the address. But nobody showed up. And as a person with PTSD, I guess I can understand why they didn't show up. Nobody knows me. Hear some guy talking about PTSD, or read about some guy on Facebook talking about PTSD. So I decided I want to do the live stream, so you get to know who I am. And eventually, hopefully, you'll come to the Warrior Healing Center. The last post I did, if you look down the list, you'll see another live stream or video of the services here at the Warrior Healing Center. They're here for you, veterans. And as I understand, there are some civilian agencies now going to be in here as well. I won't mention them until I'm certain that they are going to be here, but they are in the works. So as they become official and they're actually here, I'll mention them in a later live stream. But for now, some of the things that I want to work on for the PTSD support groups, I'll do it live stream every week. I might do it twice weekly because not everything available for veterans would be available for civilians, but everything available for civilians is available for veterans. So I kind of want to separate it, because if I start talking to veterans, some of the stuff wouldn't apply to civilians as far as resources available. So I will do 2 live streams at least weekly, one for veterans and one for general public. All of it is related to PTSD. So created the group for a number of reasons. The treatment for veterans, the facilities, the VA does treat the veterans for their PTSD, but it is not family inclusive treatment. So there's a problem there. The problem I identified: I was in a treatment program for PTSD, veteran. I came home. My wife and kids were still walking on eggshells. I'm feeling great. I got these new tools. I got these little forms called Dear Man. Instead of blasting somebody because they said something I didn't like, I get a little form, fill it out. And then I can proactively address that situation in a, I guess, civilian manner or civil manner. My typical MO is, if you said something I didn't like, I would chew your head off. And when I was done, you would thank me for doing it because I was that tactful. That's not healthy. I don't like doing that, and I always feel bad after doing that. But that's what my PTSD has done to me, or I've done to myself. So I've learned the different things, but my family hasn't learned those. So my group is to be inclusive. Okay, families and the person suffering from PTSD and caregivers. Okay, y'all need to come together as a group, as one. If I go to the hospital, which I did, and I came out, I'm feeling good, but the VA didn't offer any resource to my wife and kids. There was no inclusive treatment. There was not one time when my family was invited to one of our meetings or group sessions to go over their concerns, to go over their fears, their what ifs. Okay. My PTSD group for veterans, civilians, and family caregivers is to do just that. The what ifs. What works for you? Share that with other people. Share it with your friends. Share it with the group. It might work for somebody else. What signs are there that you see? Maybe somebody else sees those but don't realize that that's a sign of something, or a trauma, or something about to happen, or whatever. And it's also to let you know you're not alone. PTSD is a very lonely thing. When I went to the program, I was shocked to see how many people were like me. 38 years, okay? I ignored the VA. I hated them. I got an honorable discharge, but I was discharged against my will for something I did not do. Having said that, I guess now is as good a time as any. I was a peacetime veteran of military sexual trauma during an investigation from 2 Marines. So that's where my PTSD arrived from. I'll talk more about that at another time, but just so that you understand where I'm coming from. Those are things you don't talk about. You don't talk about sexual trauma. You don't talk about any of that stuff. So when I said in the beginning of this thing that the people most affected are the women during peacetime of sexual trauma, that is true. But there were also men involved in that as well. And I was one of those. And when I was in the program, I met a couple of others, so I wasn't alone. So 38 years later, I'm saying it publicly, I'm not alone. There's more out there, just like me. It took me 38 years to realize that. Hence why I'm sitting here in front of you today saying that. No longer will I allow it to control me. I had, like I said, I quit jobs. You know, when I thought I was being exposed, I walked away. Suicide attempts, 20 of them. Thank God I'm still here. And that's all I can thank. That's who I can thank, actually. But I'm here. I'm here for a purpose, and that purpose is to help others like me to get the treatment they need, to understand they're not alone. Veterans with PTSD tend to avoid places and people. I know for a fact. I do it all the time. I still do. I'm okay here at the Warrior Healing Center. Everybody here is a veteran. They understand. They take an interest. I've explained who I was and what I wanted to do, and they welcomed me here and said, yeah, you can have a group, do what you'd like to do here. My goal is to help other veterans like me, any type of PTSD, wartime, peacetime, doesn't matter. If you're out there and you need help, you need to get in touch with us. There's help for you. If you need to, I'm here. I have no certifications or degrees in counseling. I'm not a doctor. I have no certificates of any sort other than my college education. I'm just a victim of trauma, just like the rest of you. My experiences and my ability to want to help and my desire to want to help is the experience that I'm sitting here and talking about today. Nothing more. Anything more than you need to seek real counseling, real doctors, and in emergency situations, you need to seek real help from crisis lines. If it's immediate, 911, but you do need to seek professional help from those licensed to give that type of help. My group is veteran PTSD victim, period. For veterans and civilians and caregivers and significant others, family. The group offers family members to socialize, get to know others living in similar situations. Not only do we isolate ourselves, but our families are isolated as well because of our behaviors, because of the things we do. Those are the pieces that we need to try and break. When I sat and thought about my child won't go play sports on a field because he feels my anxiety being there. So he takes on my behaviors and quits playing soccer or baseball, or I'm not going because daddy's not going to be there. And that really sucks. When your life impacts your children in such a way that it takes them away from being a child, that alone, you need to get out and do something. You got to get help. If not for yourself, do it for your wife and children or your significant other or anybody, your parents. It doesn't matter. Your PTSD is affecting everybody around you in a negative way. And that's 100% accurate. I live it. I've lived it. I'm seeing the benefits now of seeking the help and working through it. I still go to counseling every week. Okay? I'm not perfect. I have days I still don't leave the house. My counselor, he'll tell you straight up, I cancel sometimes, a lot of times. I try not to, but there's days, I just can't give myself out. But my wife coaxes me, or she'll drive me and say, we're going, and then that's all there is to it. I've learned not to argue with my wife. She's a little Latin ball of fire, and I don't want to get her upset, and I've already done enough damage past 14 years, so now it's, I'm willing to listen and do the things that I need to do, even if I don't want to do them. And you need to do the same thing. As a group, we can share what's worked, some of the struggles that motivate, and motivations. What are we working, what are we having hard times with? I spoke to a lot of you on Messenger when I had the Facebook thing going. I do have the group still out there. Nobody really talks too much on it. I'll be honest, I got annoyed with it because I was the only one talking on a group. But it only fed into the fact that people with PTSD don't readily open up and talk about it. Most of the people that talked on my group were the caregivers, the significant others. That says a lot. Okay? They care about you. You got to care about yourself now, and you got to care about them if nothing else. Okay? So get out there and do something. The other thing I want to bring up is, I got a list here, but I want to bring up the time of the year we're walking into. Okay? It's a holiday season. All right? I don't know why, but it affects me too. I don't know why the holiday season brings out the worst in us. When I say the worst in us, for whatever reason, I guess because it's the winter months. Living down here in Arizona, I come from New Jersey, so I'm used to the 4 seasons. Down here, it's not so bad because the sun kind of shines all the time, although it is just dirt and cactus, so brown and green all the time. So you kind of get used to that. But other areas, I guess the winter months, the seasonal affect disorder stuff kicks in. But the holiday seasons, kind of brings people together. A lot of group things, kids in school, a lot of plays and things that you attend, holiday stuff, trunk or treats coming up. You got to walk around with your kid, let them get some candy and have some fun. Thanksgiving's coming up. People come around. You got to be sociable. These are all things that affect people with PTSD. So I just want to bring that out because this is also the time of the year when a lot of people attempt or actually commit suicide. A good friend of my wife and myself just a month ago killed himself. Right out of a program. Spent 2 years, I believe, in a prison type program setting. So it wasn't really in prison, but the point is he was in a drug treatment facility working on his addiction. He was discharged. His family didn't understand or didn't really care too much. He was gay, and they're Christians. Not that I don't want to bring religion into it, but their values were different. So he was adopted, he was gay, and they were financially affluent people with a thick Christian upbringing. So they didn't understand him. We did. My wife and I did understand him. We tried as best we could to help him. But the end result was, when he got out of the program, his family housed him in the north side of St. Louis, which is the drug capital of anywhere. It was only a matter of time before drugs were going to find its way back into his system, and they did, and he died in his sleep. So, suicide is real. My sister committed suicide. I don't want to see any more people die from suicide. Tim here at the Warrior Healing Center has a 22 for 22. 22 veterans die every single day. 22. And that's just veterans. Okay. The civilian side of the world, if you add that number to it, that number daily is huge. Okay. PTSD is real. Trauma is real. If you know or see signs, get your significant other the help they need. There's crisis numbers everywhere. The crisis number I have, I'll share with you. It's in my phone. Like I said, I'm a disabled veteran with PTSD, and I have a safety plan. The other thing you might want to do is also, create a safety plan, one that your significant other is aware of, so that they know the signs and that they're a part of that plan. So the crisis number I have is 1-800-273-8255. Now that's good for everybody nationwide. If you're a veteran, press 1. For everybody else, just follow the prompts. But again, like I said, with the holiday season coming up, more and more people will think of ending their lives. My goal here is to save them. Now, I can't save you. I can only give you the tools to help your loved one who's in distress, to seek the help they need. I can only talk about this to expose it so that you know you're not alone. We're all in this together. The Warrior Healing Center, like I said, the sheet I read from last time I was here is still here. 1838 Peso San Luis, Sierra Vista is the location. 46 different services here. Like I said, look down below and review that video. That'll give you an idea what's here. And for now, I think I'll end there. But what I want you to take with you is you're not alone. The person with PTSD, you're not alone. The caregiver, the significant other, the children, if you're watching this, you're not alone. There's people out there that can help you. There's people here at the Warrior Healing Center that can help you. All you need to do is get here. Somebody will be here to help. I believe you can post at the bottom of this live stream. Got any questions? Write them. I'll respond either in the post or at the next live stream. But I do want you to know that I'll be here weekly, twice weekly, to continue to share with you experiences, different things, to expose the idea that PTSD is not an isolated thing. It's everywhere. People have it. Civilians, veterans, military, non-military, or combat, non-combat. Okay, 9/11 victims, school shootings, deaths in the family, car accidents. It doesn't matter. You need to understand the signs and symptoms and seek treatment. And if you can't see them, somebody around you does. They need to seek that treatment for you. I encourage you to get the help you need. At that, I'll end. I just wanted to let you know today is September 5th, not June 19th, 2019. I'll be back again probably Monday for another live stream. Thank you and have a good night.